G'day guys and welcome, my name is Michael and I'm the Dead Aussie Gamer and welcome to another Dead Aussie review where I review some of the tabletop role-playing games that I've had the pleasure of playing and running in my time as a professional role player and games master. Today we're going to be taking a look at another Through the Breach expansion, Above the Law. Now, Above the Law is probably my favorite book, and I'm going to start this review with that. Mostly because it features probably one of the most prominent groups within the realm of Malifaux, and that is the Guild, or the Mercantile Guild. Now, when humanity came back into Malifaux after 100 years of being sealed away from it, the main incursion upon Malifaux was led by an organization known as the Guild. They are merchants who specialize in the trade of soulstones and have returned to Malifaux for exactly that purpose, to find, to harvest, and to expand their influence into the realm of Malifaux. They represent the law as it was. They're not really a government, they're just more of an organization who has a very, very strong power hold, both on Earth and in Malifaux, or at least originally, but we won't go too much into the lore here, because we're here to talk about this book and what's cool about it, and yeah, just to review it in general. Now, as always, guys, this is not a breakdown of everything within the pages of this book. More, we're going to be just taking a look at some of the key points that I thought were good, some of the key points that I thought were bad, and doing an overall review of it. So let's start with what can we find within these pages. Well, in the actual expansion itself, we can see that there is a number of pages dedicated to the actual lore of the guild and how their actual hierarchy is structured. I think there's like 70-something pages on both the history and the structure of this organization, which I think is great. The guild is not a secretive organization, so we have had a lot of lore about the guild in the previous books and of course in other books as well. So while a lot of this stuff may not be new information, it does expand on that information that we already had, which I quite liked. After which, we see a bunch of new pursuits, which allow us to change and modify the types of characters that we can play. And all of them, I mean, and this stands for all of them, every single one of them is something that I think should have been in the game in the core rules. They are all stuff that are just the day-to-day people that would have existed in Malifaux at that time. You've got things like the bureaucrats, you've got the propagandists who run the newspaper reels, you've got the majorites and the marksmen, the gunners and the commanders, you know, the soldiers of Malifaux, as it were. There's a very heavy emphasis on that. I can obviously see why they did it for the guild, but, you know, Above the Law is, I want to say, like the fourth or fifth book in the installments of the expansions. And I just can't express how glad I am that this book really allowed players to be a part of the Malifaux world. As the main protagonists of the game are normally humans, a lot of these classes feel very human. They feel like, yes, you are a part of this setting. Now, in addition to that, you have a bunch of advanced pursuits, which then go into the different guild organizations, like little sub-organizations, like the Nephilim hunters, the witch hunters, and all them, which is great because that is one of the most appealing parts of the guild, is the different factions within it that allow you to you know, sort of look at what your squad or what your particular organization does within the guild. So you've got the Death Marshals who hunt down the Necromancers, the Witch Hunters who look for illegal use of spellcasting. You've got the Bureaucrats who, of course, manage and mandate the law, as well as the guild lawyers, and so on and so forth. Looking at expanding on this is just, yeah, is great and adds just so much to this particular game. Magic, of course, is featured in every single one of the expansions. I did like a lot of the spells. In particular, there are a bunch of spells which allowed for players to be able to, let me have a look here, that allowed for people to expand on their theory with the Eternal Dance. This theory allows players to basically follow their steps and have more of a rhythmic style of spellcasting based on the Dormiador del Decabre, which is a dancing type of necromancer from the guild's faction. I like the fact that it added a bit of style and a bit of flair to the game. And we also get to see a lot of that getting used with a lot of the anti-spellcasting anti-undead spells and abilities, which, yeah, I just thought was really, really cool. And then, of course, the bestiary, filled to the brim with guild members. Now, why is a guild book filled with guild bestiary characters? Well, because not everyone who goes through the breach is going to be a member of the guild. So even if you don't want to play a guild person, and you want to have the guild be sort of a more antagonist in your story, then this book just chockers with the different factions, different units, soldiers, corrupt people, and the like. So there's just so much stuff within this that I just absolutely adored. So what did we end up reviewing it with? What did this book end up scoring? Well, let's take a look at our review chart here. Boop, there we go. All right, let's start with our first category, simplicity. Was this simple? Short answer, yes. Holy crap, was this easy to understand. Not only because it was a very simple layout, but because the actual book itself was just, again, so human, and it was very much about being a human in the city of Malifaux. Everything was easy to understand. I think it's interchangeable with just so much different stuff. It does not have a difficult learning curve for any of the abilities in it. Probably the most difficult one, I'd reckon, was the propagandist, but that's only because the whole idea of people, the people's voice or voice of the people ability, and being able to interact with a community was the most expansive kind of aspect of it that was difficult. But even then, it didn't take me like 4 or 5 times to read it to understand how it worked. So this one's getting the full 5 marks out of 5 for simplicity, just because, yeah, I thought it was just super easy. How versatile is it? Well, again, it is very human-based, and the main protagonist of this game is human. So 4.5, it is usable by pretty much everyone, even if you're not human, even if you are an undead or a bayou gremlin or a Neverborn now. You don't necessarily, you aren't excluded from any of these. While of course there is some limitations on what you can do, like for example, you wouldn't necessarily see an undead character being a witch hunter, for example, because that causes conflicts, and pretty much any undead character will struggle with a few of the different faction things here. That's probably the only limitation. Same with Neverborn, sorry. The undead Neverborn may struggle a little bit. So 4.5 for that one for versatility. Next up is narrative. Now, narrative I enjoyed. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely loved it, but I only gave it a 3.5 because so much stuff was already there. It was already known. It got a solid 3.5 though because it did expand on a lot of these ideas, which I was pining for. I was definitely wanting to know more about the ins and outs of every single one of the different sub-factions. Now that we've got like a proper hierarchy and things, that's great. That's awesome, and allows me as a Fate Master to better portray how each of these different groups work and how they operate. So 3.5. Appearance. Now, this is obviously things to do with layout and to do with the artwork and stuff like that. I gave it a 4. I gave it a 4 because there's a lot of very, very pretty artwork, a lot of new artwork, which is great. A lot of the artwork that you see in the war game is obviously featured here because, the artists there are just absolutely incredible. One of the things I don't like, and this is just me, I don't like it, is a lot of the bestiary characters from the core rulebook were in color, and a lot of the bestiary stuff in the following books are in line art, which, I don't know, just has a slightly incomplete vibe for me. But it does redeem itself in the form of the highlighted characters. So there, every now and then they'll put in a highlighted character within the actual bestiary that allows you to, kind of get to know one of the notable NPCs. And it kind of, that little section is always very, very pretty, usually features the colored art and stuff like that. For the guild, the character was, and I did remember this, but then I forgot, was Francesco Ortega, where you've got 2 massive full-on pages for one of the most notable members of the Ortega family, who are, of course, Nephilim hunters. So, yes, so solid 4, quite enjoyed it, loved it, very pretty, very nice. Balance. Balance. Is this balanced? Is this something that is going to break the game? Is it something that suits? Is it something that fits? Flat out, yes. Yes. And I will tell you why. when you build characters in Through the Breach, you use a tarot reading to determine your ability scores, your traits, your skills, and all that. With this book, you use what's called the Ram Head Tarot. So you do the same thing, but there's an extra card in this particular tarot suit called the Vice card that can be used to kind of replace one of the cards from your aspect drawer as you go on. I love this idea because I think at its core, Through the Breach is a kind of gritty game. It's something that has an element of sin and vice about it, and to be able to boost or to enhance your tarot reading at the cost of having to fall to a vice just feels stylistically great. So balance-wise, I'd say a 5. And honestly, and again, I'm going to say this again, I would have loved if this book was book 1. I would love if this book was the core rulebook. That's how integral I think it is to this game, to this setting, and expanding on it. So if you do end up getting a Through the Breach book, and if you do want to get it, like seriously, I 100% recommend what you need to do is go out and also pick up this book. So remember, pick up Above the Law. Yeah, your gameplay will enhance tenfold picking this up. And that is what an expansion should do. An expansion should elevate what your game is doing, and this one does it better than any of the other books out in that particular Through the Breach set, at least to date. The date, of course, being the 2021 in April. It is also April Fool's in America, but not in Australia, so this is not an April Fool's. I really love this book. It's great. Go buy it. Okay. Without any further ado, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you have any questions about it or the content within, do leave a chat below and let me know. If you want to see more videos like this, then let me know as well, and hit that bell button and the like and subscribe and all those other things. If you want to buy this book for yourself, the digital copy is available on DriveThruRPG. The link will be in the description below. And of course, if you would like to buy a hard copy for yourself, because these books actually do feel amazing. I will also put a link to the Weird store in the chat as well. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, as always, game hard or die trying. Good night.